Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Redditor Radio. This is the Carcast of USC's 59-20 win over the Georgia Southern Southern. I keep thinking Golden Eagles. I feel like it should be Golden Eagles.
It does feel like Golden Eagles, yeah.
The Georgia Southern Eagles. Clay Helton's Georgia Southern Eagles come to the Coliseum and lose 59-20. SC has big moments, big plays. Maybe you wish you had a little bit more, but SC still covers. We're going to talk about all that and more here in this episode. As always, you can follow us on social media. Email us, rantoftrade@fanside.com, and our phone number, 818-643-7227, Second Woods Bruin Show. I'm your host, Michael Castillo, joined with my co-host here in the Rant studio in Los Angeles, Alicia Artola.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. We are back. We have a link to the Roto meter in the chats. I will pin that. So if you're watching live on YouTube, you can click that link over in the pin message in the chat and put in your not vote. What do you call it? Your
assessment.
Your assessment. There. Your vibes of the Roto meter. Alicia, before we begin, we got a couple super chats. I want to get to these right away so we don't forget these. All right, we'll start with 300 GJW, who says, "Good win. Offense looks like it's clicking. Now the defensive secondary still gives up some big plays. Real season starts next week." Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the super chat. Essentially, yeah. I mean, the more difficult uphill kind of stuff starts next week. USC has passed the first two tests. We'll see how they go.
Yeah, 100%. I think we're going to learn a lot next week, and we're going to learn even more the week after, and even more the week after that. Everything else, up until now, almost doesn't matter. SC made it through the first 2 weeks sort of unscathed. Now you go into the Big Ten season, and everything's really going to start to matter exponentially, obviously. The other super chat comes from Irvine Cattle Ranch, who says, "Had a reverse shoulder replacement last Friday. Being able to listen to you has made something horrible bearable. Thank you." Reverse shoulder replacement sounds awful.
I have no idea what makes a shoulder replacement a reverse.
In the chat, it says it flips the shoulder joint. Ooh.
That sounds sufficiently awful. I'm sorry. I hope that it is for the better. I hope that like your quality of life improves having gone through this.
Yes.
But we're very happy to be providing you some solace. That just sounds awful. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's brutal. Alicia, let's get into it, though. It's the Carcast. USC wins 59-20. Start with your standard opening, Alicia, montage. Not montage.
Monologue?
Monologue. There we go. Wrong mon word.
Yeah, so USC put up 755 yards of total offense. USC won by 39 points. USC absolutely demolished an opponent that they should have demolished. And yet still, I come out of this just feeling a little bit, I don't want to be like negative Nancy. I don't want to be, I'm not trying to be pessimistic, Alicia, because there's so much to be optimistic about with this game. Like, Wayman Jordan, not just Wayman Jordan, the entire running back room looks phenomenal. Wayman Jordan, Eli Sanders, Harry Dalton, King Miller, like phenomenal offensive line room. USC's ability to run the ball, really nice. Jaden Mayava had some shaky moments, but he also, threw for 412 yards and 4 touchdowns. Like, on the whole, Jaden Mayava was very good today. Hassan Longstreet, when he came in, got some time, looked good. Defensively, I think that's where I'm a little bit more uncertain, because on paper, holding Georgia Southern, holding anybody to under 20 points is what we're looking for, right? Like we've always said, just give us a 20-point defense and we'll be happy. Well, there's your 20-point defense. I think my concern about the defense at this point is that the running lanes that we saw open up for Missouri State were there in force again for Georgia Southern. The secondary concerns that were there for Missouri State were still present. So, it's just these little hints, little red flags that are popping up defensively that I would prefer not to be popping up defensively. I still think that there's a perfectly good chance that this defense sort of becomes one of those, like, they are what they are, and what they are is a 20-point defense, and you will win a lot of games with that. My concern is simply that other teams with better quarterback play, with better rushing attacks, with better offensive lines, with better receivers, will be able to take advantage of the vulnerabilities that I think we continue to see on defense. And as much as I like D'Anton Lynn and believe in D'Anton Lynn and want him to be a successful defensive coordinator at USC, it's time to start putting up. It's time to start, showing something. And I'm just not sure that we're seeing quite what I need to see. I do think it was encouraging, the defensive front, the 8 tackles for loss, 4 sacks. I thought that guys like Cam Fountain was in the backfield all the time. It was I love watching him play. Anthony Lucas had a really good game. It was really good to see him go off the way that he did. So, it's there's stuff to like, and there's also stuff to just be like, okay, well, I still need USC to prove my pessimism is not well founded. I think is where I'm coming from. So, I mean, I don't know. How do you feel about this game? Like, it was an objectively great game. I wish I felt more confident about everything coming out of it.
I think it was fine.
Yeah.
It was fine. I look at it two ways. Obviously, you don't want to give up 20 points. I think there are things that you can really like about this defensive performance, and there are things that you could not like. I wanted to say that the SC was much better in the second half defensively, and I think that's true. At the same time, in the first half, Georgia Southern averaged 5 yards per play. It was 4.6 in the second half. So it wasn't completely different that way. 11 first downs in the second half versus 15 in the first. The weird thing is you look at the run game for Georgia Southern in the second half. O.J. Arnold, who looked really good in that first half. Another Fresno State game for him in which they gave him 2 carries in the second half. I don't understand that at all. His last 3 carries, his only 3 carries in the second quarter, 10, 13, and 8 yards. And then he went for 4 and 2 in the second half. Their leading rusher in terms of handoffs, David Medinga, had 11 carries in the game. The bulk of those came in the second, or about 1, 2, 3, 5 in the second half. 2, 2, 11, 2, and -1. So, like, those 2 starters combined had 1 rush for more than, 4 yards in the second half. Much better for USC's rush defense. However, you look at Jamarian Samuel, who came in the fourth quarter. Mind you, all of his carries were in the last 2 minutes. 4 carries, 58 yards of rushing. And that bumps Georgia Southern's second half totals way up, right? And so it was the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter. Who really cares, right? The way I look at it, on offense, they did everything you needed them to do. They made 1 mistake, and it was a mistake that cost the defense plenty with that 6 points right off the hop.
Fumble, yeah.
Poor defensive play from Bishop Fitzgerald, but also Bishop Fitzgerald, probably not the guy to be matched up one-on-one in the end zone anyways. He's a safety. He was out on an island, jump ball situation against a backup quarterback who comes in for 1 play when J.C. French got hurt. and he throws a 32-yard touchdown pass right over the top there. Shrug, not great. I'm more worried about the second touchdown that Bishop Fitzgerald gave up, in which there was some sort of a cross-up. He's pointing for either a flag or something, and there wasn't any. Who knows what the issue was there, because we saw some sort of coverage breakdown last week against Missouri State, right? But to me, my biggest concern about the defense is the running holes that we saw in the second quarter. Because it was a very interesting first half defensively. It reminded me a lot of the 2022 USC defense, in which they made a lot of negative plays, but they also gave up a bunch of easy ones, right? Like, there's the combination of those two. I think they got much tighter in the second half, and sort of the numbers bear that out. And so I will give SC that. And if they continue to be better in the second half, then you're going to win games when you get to the Big Ten anyways. And offensively, they did everything you wanted to see. Wayman Jordan looks incredible. I think he's undoubtedly running back number one. And then you look at Mayava, 16 of 24 for 412 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Was it his greatest game? Realistically, probably, given the production. But, he didn't make any mistakes. Not all of his passes were great. Not all of his decisions were great. He made a really poor decision in the middle of the game that he didn't get penalized for. But he didn't make any mistakes, any critical mistakes that ended up in an interception, right? And that was the issue last year. And what did we say? We said he needed to be clean early in the season. And he's gone through these 2 games better. He's gone through these 2 games without any picks. And I think that is a big step forward. We've talked about it. There was somebody in the chat during the watch along that you didn't hear on YouTube. And I'm sorry, I can't remember who said it, but somebody was like, if the quarterback play is just percentage points better, SC will be better and win more games, because so many games were on a razor's edge last year, right? Is Mayava those percentage points better? Maybe. By not turning the ball over.
I would say, because the comment was, is he 20% better? I would say he's at least 20% better. Because even with the mistakes that he made, even with the missed throws, there was a drive or two with some questionable throws. Last year, it was more like 50-50 that wasn't going to be a good Mayava play or a bad Mayava play. Yeah. This year so far, and certainly in this game, it was probably more like 80-20. And I think that you can absolutely survive that.
You can survive it, especially against a Georgia Southern, right? It might be a little bit different when you get into Big Ten play, but that's what we're going to see. We're going to see SC at least has a Big Ten schedule that starts off favorably. They have to play Purdue, the worst team in the Big Ten. It is on the road, but it's still Purdue who's the worst team in the Big Ten. You should be able to win that game. SC will go into that game as favorites. They will go in the Michigan State game as favorites. If these are the games, if USC truly is going to be a contender in the Big Ten, then these are games that you should win comfortably. Go prove that you can win them comfortably. And as it stands right now, I think there's no reason to doubt that they should, based on what we've seen in these 2 games. The reason to doubt that SC will win those games favorably is because SC on the road under Lincoln Riley has not been great. They don't have a good track record of road games. And last year, so many games came down to the wire that a lot of them ended up as coin flips. And SC lost a lot of those coin flips, but they also didn't put teams away that often. The only teams they put away were Rutgers and Wisconsin and Utah State, really.
Yeah, and I think that's so much of my perspective on this game is going to be formed by what comes later, it's there's a universe where this game is a sign of great things to come, and there's a universe where this game is a sign of not good things to come, and there's a universe where this game is completely irrelevant. I don't know, it's frustrating.
Yeah, 100%. But SC, I think coming out of this game and being 2 boo-boo face about this game is not constructive, given
Yeah.
that. Not to say that there's a comparative nature of looking across college football, but there is, right? Like, everyone's going to obviously look across college football. And you look at the scores across the country, and LSU beats Louisiana Tech 23-7. That's not exciting, but they only give up 7 points, but not exciting, right? And then you see games like, I'm just scrolling through here. Clemson, disappointing, but a win over Troy, a game in which they trailed 16-3 at halftime, right? Florida loses to South Florida. It goes on and on. Texas A&M gave up 22 points to Utah State, led by Bryson Barnes. Like, this is a week in which... What was that?
The pig farmer himself.
Yeah, exactly. This is a week in which a lot of teams did not do their business. A lot of them did do their business. Oregon kicked the utter loving hell out of Oklahoma State. And, Alabama beat UL Monroe by 73. But, SC did their job. They won these first 2 weeks. We always said that it was going to be weird against Clay Helton. There was going to be something weird early in the game. And that weirdness was the fumble, right?
There was way less weirdness and
it
way
could have
less
been so much weirder.
nervousness early in this game than I thought.
I thought it could have gotten weird when SC really takes control of the game, goes up 21-6. Georgia Southern comes back, then there's a stop, and it looks like, is Georgia Southern going to get back into this? But they never did. SC from that point on, rattled off, 24 unanswered points. And
the offense came alive again.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is I think that part of my worry is based on last year and the way that the offense couldn't be relied upon as often as they needed to. And the sort of fear that if the defense isn't winning you games, then you're going to lose games, right? But I think that what we've seen, certainly in this game, is the offensive firepower that USC has between Mayava and Wayman Jordan and Eli Sanders and Mekhi Lemon and Jacobe Lane. I thought we got to see the sort of star turn from all of them. And that, they're all living up to the expectations that we hoped for. Mm-hmm. And the only tricky bit is how much of a challenge is Missouri State? Very little. How much of a challenge is Georgia Southern? Not that much. How much of a challenge will Purdue be to this offense? It shouldn't be much. The offense as it currently stands looks far more formidable than they did last year. So, maybe that's the thing that we should be taking from this game is just how well USC's offense seems to be operating at the moment. But I think it's hard to sort of put stock in anything that we're seeing, in anything positive that we're seeing. And I don't want to be hypocritical and only put stock in the negative things that we're seeing, because that's not fair either. But putting stock in anything in this game is just sort of twisting my head around a little bit. UCLA almost just was driving down to come back against UNLV and just threw an interception. So sorry, I'm slightly distracted.
Yeah. The way I see it is just, there's too many positives to be overly nitpicky. I think there's a lot of trauma from the past few years, understandably so, of why maybe there isn't the most chipperness, but also they won 59-20. Looking at the Roto meter, we do have the link to the Roto meter in the chat, so you can go check that out. We'll have it in the show notes if you're listening audio only. A bunch of people have put their notes in there. I think we're going to hold off the main Roto meter discussion until the Fallout episode, but I will just browse here lightly. Way more positive than last week. which I think is a good thing, despite this not being as much of not as dominant as a 60-point win. Because what is as dominant as a 60-point win?
Yeah. I mean, and that's, again, it was always, I mean, these 4 weeks were always going to be, the margin should be shrinking. It's just USC needs to make it shrink as little as possible when you get to like Purdue and Michigan State. So yeah, I do expect sort of positivity and vibes to be better. I mean, my vibes after Missouri State were up to a 6.5. I'm willing to put it up to a 7 because of what we're seeing from the offense, personally. So, you know, I totally get the better vibes that are in place. And yeah, if you just, you know, if you told me Alicia talk about Wayman Jordan, I could spend an hour talking about how excited I am about Wayman Jordan.
He makes me drool.
And
can we do that? Can we go through and talk about the?
Well, can I talk about one thing about Wayman Jordan? Can I say one thing? Well, let's talk about Wayman Jordan. Let's talk about everything that was awesome today.
Yeah.
Starting with Wayman Jordan. One random particular thing about Wayman Jordan starts the game horribly with the fumble.
Yeah.
Can't happen. They go back to him immediately, and he just runs with so much confidence, and it's like it never happened. I almost forgot that it happened in the first place. Wayman Jordan in this game carries the ball 16 times. He gets 16 attempts in this game, and like that's a full load, you know?
Yeah.
That is USC saying Wayman Jordan is our number one guy, and we're going to give him the load, even in a game that is more or less decided, that doesn't really need USC to be running out the clock or anything like that. They were running the ball, which I find to be very encouraging. And I think that if you told me right now you'll get 16 carries from Wayman Jordan and 8 carries from Eli Sanders every game, sign me the hell up. Sign me up, because both of those guys are studs. And
you haven't even got to King Miller.
Well, okay, can we just King frickin' Miller. King Miller. The best thing about King Miller, there are 2 great things about King Miller. Three great things about King Miller. Number 1, he's a walk-on, so like walk-on stories are always fun. Number 2, he's big but deceptively fast. Like 2 games in a row now, he's broken free for a touchdown. And halfway through, I sort of expected him to get caught from behind, and he just never got caught from behind because he just puts on the afterburners. And it's like, oh, dude can run. Number 3, with a name like King, if he takes off, you get to start screaming, "Go on, King! Go on, King!" And it's like King, like the nickname, like, you know, like, "Go on, King." It's great. Is it not?
Yeah, it is. Sorry, I was trying to distract Badger with some treats.
Well, yeah, Badger's going a little crazy. Yeah.
We probably screwed up by giving the dogs their bully sticks. For the watch along when they were getting rambunctious. Then should have waited for the Carcast. But I think King Miller is great, and you know another walk-on touchdown for him. He's not going to be a walk-on much longer. If
this
who knows,
continues,
he might have a scholarship waiting for him in the locker room when he got back in there today. Like, great. And going back to Wayman Jordan, 16 carries, 167 yards, a touchdown. As a running game, all told, 309 yards. Fantastic from USC on the ground. They had given up, 350 something or whatever it was against Fresno State. And there was a question in the chat, like, SC should it'll be embarrassing if SC doesn't give up, doesn't have as many yards as they did. And we were like, it doesn't matter the yards, you just need to look.
You need to look like you could put up 350 yards if you wanted to.
Tried to, yes. Yeah. And given how SC ran in this game, if they tried to, I think they could have ran
500 yards rushing if they had decided they wanted to.
Yes, I agree. I think it's crazy. You look at the damage that SC put out there. 12 yards per play, which is, they were over 10 last week. 12 yards per play in this game. Only 63 plays, and they still had 755 yards. Talking about King, well, the home run king, 755 yards of total offense. Hank Aaron would be loving it. The hammer in the Georgia Southern, literally, Braves fans. And I thought it was a great performance on offense. The turnover sucked, but I also do think that there's some merit in... This is, hindsight talking, but I think there's some merit in having the fumble early and watching Wayman Jordan come back from that even better than before, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And show that he wasn't gonna let that fumble bother him. Lincoln Riley wasn't gonna let that fumble bother him in terms of distribution, any of those things. That is great. That's exactly what you want to see. You want to see the confidence in your guy, and you want to see a confidence from the guy, right?
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what we saw, and I think that seems to be who Wayman Jordan is. We've now seen 2 games of him, and just he's the same guy, same in both of those games. It'll get a lot harder as USC comes up against better run defenses, but he's got the running style that it doesn't feel like these are empty calorie yards that he's putting together because he's playing bad defenses. I think it'll be harder on USC's offensive line to open up those holes, but it doesn't seem to me like he needs a huge hole in order to wiggle through and find some space and navigate through at the second level. And all of the things that he does well are the kinds of things that bode well for a running back who will do good things even when USC is not playing, a sieve of a defense, which I find to be very, very encouraging. And I like that USC can sort of mix it up with Wayman Jordan as their main back and Eli Sanders getting some run as the primary screen guy, getting Eli Sanders outside to take advantage of his speed, all of that. It feels like a balanced room. It feels like a complementary room.
Yeah.
Maybe not like thunder and lightning kind of deal, but the room just feels like they have a lot of different guys who can do the tasks that you need. And this was even without Brian Jackson, who was out injured, but USC didn't need their short yardage back too often in this game, but when he comes back, that's a whole other element that USC can bring to the table.
Do you need a short yardage back?
I mean, not really, but
not to say that you don't need
sometimes
Brian
you do.
Jackson. You want Brian Jackson. Somebody's going to get hurt.
Yeah.
But I do think that I have the most confidence as it stands right now for Wayman Jordan to get the 3rd and 1 that you need. Mm-hmm. For Eli Sanders.
Well, we saw Eli Sanders at the goal line today. Eli Sanders punched in two touchdowns. Obviously, the holes were there, so it wasn't too difficult. But I think that he did a hell of a job, finishing off those drives that USC needed him to do. So, there was the one fumble, but aside from that, it felt like the running backs were flawless. Yeah, which is what I love to see.
Yeah. Dalton, Harry Dalton.
You mean mini Rojo?
I swear to God, he looks just like Rojo. Wayman Jordan looks just like Ashton Genty, wearing the number 2, has the same helmet and visor
dreads.
And the whole bit. Looks just like, stands up in the backfield, just like Ashton Genty, and Harry Dalton looks just like Ronald Jones. Just like him. Runs like him, very upright, wears number 25, the whole bit. Even though maybe King Miller is the one who took the Rojo cut on his long touchdown.
Yes.
Who else on offense spoke to you?
Robbie
in the chat says Tunuk Hines, and
we got to talk about the receivers. The receivers in general, again, this receiving core. I went into the season thinking, okay, USC knows they've got Mekhi Lemon and Jacobe Lane, and we'll figure out who that third guy is. And I think what we've seen so far from this season is that coming to pass more or less. Lane and Lemon are the primary guys. USC is more often than not seeming to me running 2 wide receiver sets and taking advantage of having the sort of heavier backfields, which I like because I like USC being able to run out of those. And also we're seeing USC take advantage of the tight ends. Lake McCree and Walker Lyons both factored in today really well. Walker Lyons ends up with a touchdown. Lake McCree has a couple big catches. So those 2 guys are getting their run. And Mekhi Lemon and Jacobe Lane are doing work that justifies only needing the 2 of them out there most of the time. And then Tanook Hines feels like a solid support third. I think that's very clearly his role, and I totally understand how he won that role because he seems to be reliable catching the ball. He's an extremely willing blocker. He's got tons of energy out there just sort of running around and making sure he's getting involved in the play, even when the ball isn't coming to him. Really nice to see that. But when it comes down to it, this receiving core is Mekhi Lemon and Jacobe Lane, and that is exactly what we saw in this game. Textbook from both of those guys. Jacobe Lane with the absurd, crazy plays that are just like, Jacobe, who the hell are you? Like, this is insane. And then Mekhi Lemon with just being, Amon-Ra St. Brown 2.0. Just, taking names and doling out everything over the middle of the field, breaking tackles, shifting around, being available always. He had 4 catches, 158 yards. 6 targets, the 2 targets that were missed were not on him. They were throws that weren't good enough to him. And I think that if those throws had been better, he would have done plenty with those as well. So this was a perfect example of what USC's receiving core can be. And that was very, very, very fun to see.
Yeah, 100%. You mentioned Jacobe Lane. 3 catches, 91 yards, a touchdown. Those 3 catches. The touchdown in the end zone on the lob in which he completely he gets interfered with and then mosses the dude. Then against in the following quarter, same thing. He mosses a guy over the middle and ends up catching sort of like a YOLO ball from Jade Mayava, and then
a YOLO basket, like a YOLO basket catch. It was so weird.
Yeah, and then the 3rd catch that he has, he tries to hurdle the dude after the like every single play. It's like he is going for SportsCenter top 10 in every single play. I love it. At the same time, a little worrisome, adding difficulty to every single moment. But the one-handed catch at the beginning of the game, absolutely disgusting. Mekhi Lemon, 6 targets in the game. It felt like he had every single target early in the game.
Yeah. And
he was wide open. Mayava missed him at least one of those times wide open over the middle, especially on that drive that ended up stalling in the second quarter, the first quarter. But he looked great. Had so much room to run. Of his 158 yards receiving from Mekhi Lemon, 113 were of the yak variety, which is huge. So I think the receiving core is all coming to be there. And then, Tanook Hines looks like he is the Mekhi Lemon of early last year.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Where it's like, oh, this guy's interesting.
He's got a little something.
We had seen it in the Holiday Bowl with Mekhi Lemon. But then at the early parts of last year, you didn't go into the season thinking that he was going to be like the number one guy that he was at the end of the year. But like, he just started making plays. And Tanook Hines kind of feels like he's just doing that now. Obviously, he's not going to be the number one guy at the end of the year, more than likely. But, you don't need that out of your true freshman. You just need someone who's reliable. And if he's the number 3, then that's great.
Yeah. Again, this just feels like a nicely set up wide receiver room where Mekhi Lemon is your volume guy, Jacobe Lane is your is your just like absurd playmaker when you need him. And Tanook Hines, I think, is going to. Somebody in the chat said that Tanook is gonna start to grow his influence, and I 100% agree with that. Like Tanook looks like the kind of player who will be third wheel for a while here, but he will have those opportunities to continue to sort of pick his spots and take his moments. There will be those moments where Makai Lemon or Jacobe Lane is either unavailable or not having one of those games, and I'm becoming increasingly encouraged by the prospect of having Tanook Hines be being able to sort of step up the way that Makai Lemon needed to step up last time around. So it's a solid 3. And we got to see a little bit from Zacharias Williams today, which was really good seeing him take off the top of the defense. We saw, the DJ Jordan again in this game get some run and be able to carve out a role for himself. So again, there's a lot to like here. I think obviously tougher competition will come, better corners, better secondaries will come. We'll see what these guys can all do against them. I think what I find most encouraging about it is that, like, I don't worry about Makai Lemon against better opposition. Right. Like, we already know Makai Lemon can handle himself.
Yeah. Jacobe
Lane still needs to prove some things to me about better competition, except for the whole, like, he's a touchdown machine. So, like, he doesn't need to prove that to me. I know he will go out and catch touchdowns. So the rest is just sort of a little bit cherry on top.
I do need more out of Jacobe Lane in the sense of, like, we know that if there's a play that you need, he'll be there. And we know that if you need him in the end zone, he'll be there. That is fantastic. That might be the most important thing he can do. Absolutely. At the same time, is he going to be there on a 2nd and 8 when nobody's open? And Makai Lemon gets open in that situation.
Right, but what if the opposition says we're going to take Makai Lemon away?
Yes, right. And I want to see Jacobe Lane sort of more in the game a little bit that way too. Not just the big play guy.
Yeah, but as Rama Murdy in the chat says, if we keep using the tight ends, it opens up the throws to receivers. Yeah, I'm really encouraged by the way that they've been using the tight ends through these first 2 games. I don't want to get my hopes up too much about the tight ends, but it does feel like they've found a better balance of using them. And part of me wonders if, one of the things that was maybe a detriment to USC that we had heard was that there were almost too many receivers that they were trying to get involved or that they were sort of mixing in and out. And I wonder if this year, going in knowing it's Lemon and Lane and occasionally Hines or whoever else will be the third, but that the tight ends will be are higher up the pecking order in terms of like who they're going to try and get the ball to. And in terms of just stylistically, I think that's a benefit to the offense to be able to, take advantage of different kinds of matchups than you'd get if you were throwing to like a slot guy.
Yeah, 100%. All of that stuff I think is looking great for the offense. Hassan Longstreet comes in later in the fourth quarter, later than he did last week. Last week he came in at the beginning of the second half. Didn't see him into the fourth quarter in this game. 4 of 6, 35 yards, 34 yards, and a rush of 6. Nice little run, like a little jitterbug run where he's able to slide at the end, which is exactly what you want to see. What did you take of Longstreet's game?
Yeah, I thought same as last week. I think you can sort of see why he was rated as highly as he was in college. I mean, in high school, coming into college. Obviously, he had a lot less to do in this particular game, but it was still nice to see him be able to get out and get at least a couple of drives and look composed and look solid. Yeah. Like I think the thing that stands out. And he's benefited by getting put in these scenarios where the pressure is very much not on. The pressure is very much not on, and it's not really a big deal. But he's still going out there and getting live reps and looking very confident and mature and capable. True freshman quarterbacks, even ones that are as highly rated as Hassan Longstreet, aren't always ready to do that, aren't always ready to go in, even in garbage time, and lead scoring drives and look like they already know the offense and look like they already are capable of running things. Now, like, I don't think that Hassan Longstreet is the answer for USC right now, but it's become pretty clear that, like, if they needed to make a quarterback change and just accept the true freshman of it all, I am much more zen about that now, having seen him in 2 games, than I was 2 weeks ago, that's how much he's impressed me. And it's not necessarily the throws, which he makes nice throws. It's not even the running, and he certainly can run. It's the composure that I sort of didn't expect to be as solid as he's brought to the table so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And he will continue to go higher and higher and higher with both the expectations, both on the field and what we can see, but also the excitement that he's able to, bring as sort of the backup quarterback. And of course, that brings us to things that you can go higher on over at Underdog. Underdog Fantasy is back. The NFL back underway, and now's the perfect time to play along over at Underdog Fantasy. My favorite daily fantasy app. Can play with as little as $1 and win up to 5,000 times my money. It's all about using your ball knowledge to pick whether a player will go higher or lower than their stat projections. Mix and match with different players on different teams, even different sports. Tomorrow, the starts are today. If you're listening to us either on the East Coast or listening to us audio only, today the start of week 1 for the NFL. I like Bijan Robinson higher than 76.5 rushing yards against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I also like Terry McLaurin higher than 55.5 receiving yards. That's what I'm making my picks with over at Underdog Fantasy. You can too. Download the app, sign up with the promo code Reign of Troy to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code Reign of Troy. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog, make picks, win money, must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY, which is 467-369. Alicia, we got more Super Chats.
Hey.
Right. Cam Hammer says, optimistic with a big smiley face. And to fight on. Thanks, Cam Hammer.
Yeah.
We appreciate you. And then Steven comes in with the super chat. Thank you. Steven's great. Always popping in super chats on our videos.
I think he dropped in the chat something that felt like it should have been part of the super chat.
I was at the game. Team looks great. Fight on to Steven. Yeah. We appreciate you guys. Tim in LA is here. He has joined us. He says, joining super late. I have a ways to go to catch up. Great win. Tim in LA, we need you to be our correspondent for the tunnel. What was the tunnel like with Clay there? Were people heckling? Were people cheering?
Was the booing noticeably more than opposing teams would have been booed anyways? Is I guess the question that we have.
It's our question for Tim in LA, who I know sits by the tunnel. Walking through the box score a little bit more here. If we look on defense, big games for Eric Gentry getting back in there. There were some comments during the watch along about, maybe he's been a little bit quiet, but 2 tackles for loss, 10 tackles. Led the team with 10 tackles, all of them solo tackles. Also had a sack. Anthony Lucas, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. He had a great game there. Cameron Fountain had a sack and a tackle for loss. 4 sacks for the Trojans. 8 tackles for loss. They were making a lot of negative plays. Yeah, they struggled in some run fits, but other than that, they were making negative plays and really, being disruptive in the pass rush, which I think that's the thing that based on last year, I want the pass rush to get better more than anything. Mm-hmm. And obviously you want the rush defense to, be solid. Porque no los dos. But the pass rush being strong, I think to me is the bigger takeaway than the struggles in rush defense so far. But obviously you'd like to see both of those work in SC's favor. There was
I agree that I think that the in a weird way, the easier thing to fix from last year is just getting the pass rushers to finish their rushes and getting to the quarterback and causing havoc and all of that. It makes life easier for everybody else on the defense if you're able to get there and disrupt the quarterback. So 100% need that to keep happening. I still am concerned slightly about the linebacker play in terms of their ability to take care of their run fits, especially because I don't know that I think this defensive line is certainly improved, but are they I don't know that this front is going to solo put a stop to run games. USC needs strong linebacker play, and I still don't know that we're getting that outside of. When I say strong linebacker play, I mean not the flashy things. I'm talking in the middle. Ow! Ah! I knew today at some point I would get teeth from these animals.
I am losing my mind, and I don't know how more. I'm worried that the listeners are losing their minds. I am at my wit's end with Mr. Badger. We love Badger.
So here's the problem. Jessie is sitting under my desk because she's trying to hide from Badger, who wants to play, and Badger doesn't take no for an answer because he's a puppy and he doesn't care. And he's now freaking out at her. But the problem is my legs are also under my desk. So he's trying to bitey face with her, and then my leg got bitey faced. Which is not fun. So yeah, that's just this is puppy life. This is terrible teens. Now he's trying to eat my hand. Hey. Yeah.
Dan says Badger's not a great producer. Yes, absolutely. Other question we got in the chat, by the way. Randy says, have you ever considered taking live calls from the RoT bots? Yeah, I think it would be cool. I think it'd be cool to do a call-in show like that. But I think it works better to be able to do the voicemails that we do in our Fallout episode for a couple of reasons. One, that way we don't have to worry about being able to screen calls.
That's the biggest issue. We'd need to do live calls. Honestly, we would need a producer. And right now Michael hosts and produces, but it's just not we'd need another person to be.
You'd need another person, but also I like the ability to sort of with the voicemails you can tighten things up. Sometimes I know that if I'm leaving a voicemail I can ramble, and the thing I love about the rant line or the rave line, whatever you want to call it, 818-643-7227, you got 3 minutes. Go there and make the most of your 3 minutes. We'll cut it up and we'll make it radio friendly. So I think that helps us out. And it helps you guys out too. So that's probably why no calls. But I think you want to see more out of the linebackers. The guy I think who can be more of a factor is Desmond Stevens. 2 tackles today. I thought his biggest play was when he got in on a blitz and didn't really completely disrupt the pass. I think the pass still got out to the flat, but he was in the backfield right away and active. And I think that's sort of what you want from your young linebacker, right? You want them to be able to step up and be able to make a play if you need them to. And even if they're not making a play, to be a factor in the play. And we've seen glimpses of that from Desmond Stevens, but just not enough of it so far.
Yeah, part of the problem, though, is that too many of the good linebacker plays are happening, on the wings. And I agree with Tai. USC needs a thumper in the middle. USC needs a run-stopping linebacker, and I don't feel like they have that. Gentry, partly because of just the unicorn nature of him, and I don't know that Stevens is there at this point. I don't know if he'll ever get there, but my concern remains like making those plays in the middle of the field and in run defense. I thought it was interesting when they sort of had Anthony Lucas floating around a little bit, how different it looked when he was sort of coming up the middle at his size compared to what we are tending to see when it comes to Stevens and Gentry. So I don't know. It's part of this just feels like it's a Big Ten problem. Like it feels like these linebackers would be perfectly suited to the Pac-12.
In what sense?
In that they're quick to the outside, they have that speed to go cover, and they don't need to be as huge, sort of in the middle. But when USC gets into Big Ten play,
here's the thing that I don't like about that. Oregon exists, Ohio State exists.
I know.
Those are teams with speed.
Yeah, I know you need speed, but you also you need both.
I don't think the change in I don't think it's as big of a deal as people have made it out to be. Especially when SC's problem last year was not that they didn't fit in Big Ten play. Outside of the first half of the Michigan game, there wasn't a team that pushed SC around to the point where they couldn't do anything.
No, USC's problem last year and the year before and the year before and the year before and the year before
SC ran all over
they
Penn
just
State.
haven't. They have no. I'm talking about linebackers.
No, I know, but I just mean
I'm not talking about the broader Big Ten fit. I'm talking about USC's linebackers for the past 5, if not longer years, have been prone to getting washed out of plays, not being able to get physical inside and take down a runner. USC has relied far too often on safeties coming up to sort of to take care of the second level, and then you end up with the half of the time when USC gives up those big run plays, or certainly last year, half of the time it was a safety who was missing a tackle on a running back. But where are the linebackers in that case? So part of it, maybe it is just formations and the nature of this sort of whatever we're going to call this 4-2-5 or whatever it is that it ends up being. But like Tai said, they're fast, but they play more like safeties than linebackers. Yeah, that's my concern. My broader concern is I think this team will be better against the run than last year because they've got better size in the middle. But I still worry about the ability of this team to not get to sort of control a game as far as stopping the run. I don't know that I see what I need to see to feel confident about that yet.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I agree with that. That they definitely can seem more like safeties than edges on a safety to edge scale, right? They're more safety than they are up front that way. I think so. I think that they can get better there. I will say that it did look like SC was dropping guys more often, especially in that second quarter, where there was a lot of running lanes. I would feel better about that against a team that threw the ball more. And mind you, Georgia State doesn't want to throw the ball, right? They threw the ball 45 times. They ran the ball 33 times. There's sacks in there that aren't seen there, and there's RPOs, obviously, that will muddy a lot of that up too. But, yeah, I think that there was probably a little bit of, give and take, playing the percentages stuff that Danton Lynn was doing. I think you could argue, do you need to play the percentages against the Georgia Southern? Shouldn't you be able to handle them either way kind of deal?
Well, yes, and I mean, to a point, USC did handle them, just not as well as we would have, I think, liked. There were key breakdowns that caused USC to not handle them, and those need to get fixed as well. The sort of big touchdown plays, but it's. These are things that USC does need to figure out. And also, I think that there are things that can be fixed in the sense of this front seven. I do think that the linebackers are locked in. It's Gentry and it's Stevens, and you got to work with what you got there. Mm-hmm. But the defensive front is very fluid, and I think we are seeing them put in a lot of different guys, use a heavy rotation. Will they use that much of a heavy rotation when we get into Big Ten play? Will we see Kobe Pepe in there as early as we see him? Will we see Floyd Boucard in there as early as we see him? Or will they roll with G.D. Abasiri and Devin Tompkins for the most part, and then, situationally or whatever, spell them with guys like Keyshawn Silver and the rest? But, I think it's possible they continue with a very heavy rotation, but I don't know for a fact that that's going to be what it is. So drawing conclusions about what this defensive front does can be slightly difficult, because what this defensive front did on a drive-by-drive basis kind of changed at times, whether it was how quickly and effectively they were getting to the quarterback, how effectively they were, limiting run opportunities. All of that is just still very up in the air for me as far as how much of this is the finished product. Well, it's not a finished product because it is so early in the season, and too many of these guys are still new and sort of learning playbooks and learning to play fast and all of that. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence that G.D. Abasiri and Devin Tompkins are the ones that win those starting jobs in terms of these are guys who have been there with this staff already, learning this all for, longer. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and Tight in the chat says the hope is if we're scoring 40, we won't need to defend the run for a full 60 minutes.
And that's the big difference from last year. Huge difference. If this offense can actually go out there and consistently score, that changes a lot.
Yeah, and then you run into the issue of the thing is, if you have a 20-point defense at that point, you're gonna win every game that way.
Yeah,
which you can. The problem is there's going to be rock fights. There's going to be a rock fight with Illinois, and the Michigan and those guys. And can you win those type of games? Would you going into West Lafayette next week if it turns into one of those tough games in West Lafayette where teams struggle? Can you claw through it? That'll be the question. So they'll have to SC will have to prove that they can. Alicia, any final thoughts before we wrap this thing up there?
I think Badger's got some final thoughts.
I think we're tired of hearing Badger.
Sorry, everybody. It's just one of those nights. Right. He's a 9-month-old puppy. This is 9 months. I think that talking this through has sort of helped me process a lot more. I think that the big takeaway here continues to be that just offensively we're seeing USC look more like they should be offensively when you have Lincoln Riley as your head coach. That's really encouraging. The defense, the jury still will be out on them until you get. But here's the funny thing. The funny thing is, like, with the exception, Illinois is far and away the best offense USC is going to play until Notre Dame, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Unless Purdue turns out to be a really good offense, which I'm not going to call yet.
Yeah, I think Illinois is going to be the best offense that SC will face until Notre Dame. Yeah, and they might even be better than Notre Dame. Like, I don't know, but as it stands now.
But my broader point is, like, the good thing for this defense is compared to last year, there aren't that many good offenses coming up.
And especially compared to 2023, right?
Yes. Yeah. Like, Oregon, good offense. I'm not gonna argue that. But like Michigan, if you were looking at what Michigan lost to Oklahoma today, because their freshman quarterback was like 9 of 24. Mm-hmm. That's just the reality of what Michigan's offense is at the moment. They're still figuring themselves out.
So I brought up FEI offensive stuff. Oregon is 2, Notre Dame 12. Then you have to sort of scroll to find another SC opponent. Michigan is 30. That seems a little presumptive, to be honest.
Well, they have a good run game.
Illinois
else.
37. Nebraska 50. I think I would put maybe Nebraska might be a little bit higher, but that time of the
higher. Game. Yeah. A lot of that depends on who Dylan Raiola is and what that offense is by then. Yeah. So
Iowa 74.
So like a lot of this will come down to USC doesn't necessarily need the defense to be elite this time around. They just need the defense to be more or less capable, and I think that's that's still certainly within the realm of possibility.
Robbie says, "What do you think of the DB rotation? Who would have thought Kevin Longstreet would get so much run?" Yeah, I would have thought when Kevin Longstreet came to SC from Texas A&M, I thought it was mostly a extreme depth guy that was going to be there to play with his brother. And maybe that's on me for not thinking more of it.
You weren't the only one thinking that way. But the reality with Kevin Longstreet, and I think he's done a pretty decent job. I mean, obviously he gives up the touchdown today, but I think he's done a decent job in 2 games of unexpected heavy work that he's gotten. The reality is that if Prophet Brown was healthy and if Alex Graham was healthy, then we would be seeing less, or it would be taking longer for us to get to the point where we see Kevin Longstreet. Part of it is just injuries there at the nickel spot specifically. As for the DB rotation, I think somebody asked earlier, like, what is the 2 deep? It seems very clear it's DeCarlos Nicholson and Braylon Conley as the number 1 and number 2, and then you sort of get into DJ Harvey and Marcellus Williams and the like.
Jason Johnson.
Jason Johnson was definitely earlier up in that, and then Marcellus Williams. So like that's your two deep is essentially Conley, Nicholson, Johnson, and Harvey. Am I super impressed with USC's corners? Not particularly at this point. Am I hitting the panic button on USC's corners? Not particularly at this point. I mentioned this on the live stream that one thing in the recent past, USC has had an NFL caliber cornerback on the team for most of the past 5 years, and I'm not sure who that is this year, if USC even has that. But that would be my biggest concern. Like, does USC have a shutdown corner? I don't think so at this point. But we'll see if maybe Braden Conley becomes that. Or if Chasen Johnson starts to come now that he's out of injury, starts to sort of rise up. But I think the jury is still very much out on those corners. We haven't really seen them face really good opposition, but we also haven't really seen the secondary breakdowns thus far seem to have involved safeties. Whether it's whoever it was that was miscommunicating or not sort of being totally on the same page, it hasn't been to me a breakdown of USC's corners are just bad. It just feels like the secondary is not totally on the same page yet.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap it up. I can't deal with this anymore. I'm.
Oh, Mr. Guy. Yep. And part of the problem is
he's ready to run gassers.
We can't put him in his crate because he can hear us from the other room.
He was fine when we were podcasting. We were doing podcasts where he was in the crate for months, and he was fine. He enjoys his crate. He likes his crate. He goes in there on his own. Now, if he hears us podcasting in the other room, he absolutely loses his shit.
He just barks and howls and barks and howls and barks and howls. So it's better for, we're sorry, but like we would rather have him just do his like whining routine right now than
I would rather have him do nothing.
Well, you would rather him do nothing, but we can't do nothing with nothing. So yeah. Also,
next
Rama,
week we'll save the police sticks for the Carcast.
For the Carcast, yeah. Rama Murdy says, you two are amazing for doing a show with the dogs losing it. Let's be clear. A dog is losing it. A dog. Jesse is currently sitting under the desk, quiet as a mouse, just sitting there wanting to be left alone. She's ready to just curl up and sleep. And Badger is being a badger. We named him properly is what we're learning. Nominative determinism. Yeah.
Maybe we should have named dogs after meth heads.
Yeah.
All right. We'll be back.
He looks very cute for what it's worth.
He's too heavy to lift up also.
I was going to say, like, somebody said, go put the dog on your lap. He's 60 pounds now. It can't be done anymore.
Yeah. All right, we'll be back Monday, 4 p.m. Pacific, live on YouTube. As always, we'll see you there. Email address, rainoftroyfansite.com. Phone number, 818-643-7227. Give us your calls into the Rant Line, Ray Line, whatever you want to call it. There's a link in the chat here on YouTube to the Roto meter. There's a link in the script in the doobly-doo down below. And there's also a link in the show notes if you listen to us audio only. So go click on that and tell us where your Roto meter is right now after USC's 59-20 win over Georgia Southern. Until then, we will see ya. See ya. Hello. La, la, la. I guess that's goodbye. La, la, la.